a temp sensor or something in it.
Where we got all the hoses going underneath it. See, all right. Show us the pliers. Oh yeah. All right. So it's just that hose underneath. Got the new idle air control valve on. I'm gonna bang up this starter motor. That's how it looks. Working. That's fucking working. So we're taking off the cover. On starter duty again. Battery. Cylinder, no working. Number one. So we've got the battery in the boot and it's working now, by the way. What we've done is use the jumper leads from the battery to the terminals. We've tested all this, it's got continuity, but even like look at this, we'll test that someone's joined the wires. It's like the only thing that seems logical of why it doesn't work, because everything's, see, it's got continuity and everything, even it sends the full 12 volts through the lines, but for some reason they just don't work. So it's the only way we get it to work, so we're going to change all the wiring, like just the battery wiring, and then we'll be able to run this battery in the boot. Alright, so we've run into a problem. The new coil pack does not fit with this loom, so we're going to put the coil pack from cylinder 1 into cylinder 2 and 2 into 1, and then see if the misfire changes into cylinder 2 from number 1. And that way we know it's the coil pack, because alternatively it could be an injector. If it's not a coil pack, it's the two main real things that it could be to single out a single cylinder like that. Cylinder 1. Means it's not the coil pack. So maybe it's the injector. Yeah, it's sparking. My ratchet wasn't working, so I had to come up with my own tool. So I just pulled some funny faces and just jiggled the starter motor around, and then my hand just magically turned into this crazy automatic ratchet. So you should be able to just kind of twist your starter motor about 90 degrees and then pull it out. Same when you put it back in, you twist it on an angle for the RB and the R33, and then it just slides out. So you get your starter, you want to pop out those long bolts. It kind of holds it all together. Yeah, I really love this silicone spray lately. It's been making everything easy. So you're going to take off your little magnet things at the back. You won't be able to put that back cap on unless you separate that little separate magnet piece off. Alternatively, if you're lucky, you can kind of pop apart one side of it and leave the black part in the middle attached to the back cap at the end, except the starter doesn't normally like to come apart that way. Like, you'll find more often than not the cap will just come off instead of you getting the back's still attached. So anyway, you got your little gears in there. They have some sort of lubrication in them from factory. I think it might be maybe a lithium grease, I don't really know. Just going to put a bit of anti-seize grease in there. I really like this anti-seize grease. It's a silver grade anti-seize grease from the coal mines. I happen to get a lot of it for free, so I like to use it when I can. Anyway, so you got your, I think it's called the armature inside your starter motor. So you're pretty much just going to slip him out and clean it all up with the air blower, spray it off, put it back together. You're going to push these little magnets in at the back, or bushes or whatever they are. They're all spring loaded, you can see. They won't go on unless you push them all in individually and pop it on. You got your little rubber you got to line up to your starter. Then you just pop your little cap on, screw it back together. Alright, so we've got the battery here with some jumper leads. We've got a starter motor. So what I've made is just a little cable. It's a normal bit of wire, and it's got the same little slip-on spade terminal here. Slip it on, and this is your trigger wire. This is you turning your key. So your starter always has positive going to it, and it always is grounded. So if we ground that starter motor to the motor, we hook up a positive connection from the battery. So now this is your trigger wire. You're going to turn the key and start it. See if the starter works. Here we go. Now we can put it back in the car. I've cleaned it up a bit, so it looks a bit nicer at least. Don't get all grease all over me trying to put it in and out. So I've tested it. I did it about 5 times, and 5 out of 5 times it works straight away. No clicking of the solenoid. So you can test it as many times as you want. As long as this isn't clicking and not working, and the starter's working. I don't know what else to tell you. You can change the solenoid if you want to. Why? So the starter motor is all wired up, bolted up, back in the R33. We pulled it apart, put it back together. We've got the battery to work in the boot with jumper leads. So we've got to fix the terminals. I'm going to try just do the earth wire first, because that's noticeably been joined together. So I'm going to try and put a new wire in for that. I need to get a new injector. But other than that, the starter should hopefully just turn over every time now. We'll see how that goes. But we're going to need a new injector. I'm going to wire up that battery in the boot a little bit better. The Skyline should be pretty much done, and it shouldn't be running as rough now as well either. With the new injector, when that's put in, it should just be purring like a little kitten. And don't think we've forgotten about this old girl. She's just waiting on some new parts, a new tune. If you're watching this and you're not already subscribed and you like what you're seeing, well, maybe press that subscribe button and you'll see some more stuff. You see is this turbo Falcon start running. You might see this black Skyline driving around in circles as well. Alright, so I really want to get this Skyline injector to work because it's going to save me trying to find one. So I'm going to test on my machine now. Because the Skyline's a side feed, so I can't plug it into my machine. I need some adapter type thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it just with the electrical and see if I can hear it firing. So we've got one injector there just blanked off the tube. So they'll all start shooting. Hopefully that doesn't leak. But this over here, it's working. This injector's working. Hopefully I can turn this off somehow. I don't know how to stop the test. What's that do? Oh, that's how you do it. Alright, so I can drain that now. Oh, so that Skyline injector's, it's firing. It's firing alright. I might go down and actually check the loom. See if the Skyline loom is firing for that injector. Because we never checked that. Just pulled the injector out. Alright, so I've unplugged the fuel pump. So now it won't fire. It won't be firing fuel out the fuel rail at me. So this injector is currently out, number 1 cylinder. What I'm actually going to do, we should have done it first, is test this plug to see if it's actually firing the injector. Alright. So then, well, that's got power there. So that injector's like powered on. I'm guessing it like earths out. That's how the injectors work. So I might need to use a multimeter on continuity instead of the test light. Well, I don't know if the injector works or not, but it doesn't even matter anymore. Can't find my bag of spare injectors, but I just found a whole RB25 det intake. It's got 6 injectors on it right here, ready for the plucking. Yeah, take my best pick. So I've got this fuel rail out of my disassembled RB25 motor, the one I tore down in one of the videos. So I meant to put it back together. I've got heaps of the parts to do it. I just haven't done it. Got sidetracked, and now one of the bores are a bit all rusted. So I'm worried I'm gonna have to hone too much out, and then I might have to get oversized stuff and see what happens. Anyway, that motor blew up on the dyno, caught on fire on the dyno. The head gasket blew, for one thing I've seen. But I've just looked now, these are the injectors out of that motor that blew up. Now if you look at this, so if you see on most of the holes there, they're kind of alright. But then if you look at those holes, they're not as clean as these or these Please. You see what I'm getting at? They all look nice, and then you get to there. It looks a bit funny. Even that one's got some discoloration. But the rest don't. Unfortunately, I don't know how I'm going to go with these injectors. So the first one I just tried to get out just completely broke. Straight away so easily. The top of it's just shattered to pieces, the plastic. It's just so brittle. So I've got 5 more to go. Just going to be ruining the whole injector rail. Try and get one injector. It's alright. Motor kind of blew up on the dyno anyway, so when I do rebuild that motor, I probably am going to be switching from the side feed injectors to a top feed injector. So I've gone and I've bought a pack of these pliers. It's like $53 or $4 or something. Now these aren't the right tool to be using, but they seem to work, so I've gone and got some. Let's see if we can get some, at least one injector out. Strike 2. No injector. Broken. The plastic is just completely shattering on these ones compared to the other ones. 3rd time's the charm. So I read online on Skylines Australia, the SAU page, everyone's saying pull your fuel rail off your plenum. It's easier to get the injectors out. You can try and even push them from the seats at the bottom. I don't know why you want to try and do that. It's pretty risque business. Wait, 3rd time's a charm. I got the first one off when I went to put the fuel rail. I went and bolted it back onto the manifold. And then I stood on the manifold because I'm not going to stand on my fuel rail. Stood on the manifold and whoa, got her out. So now, hopefully I didn't pick one of the ones that looked a bit rusty. We can go stick this in the Skyline. Right, I've been trying to do this for almost an hour now, to put a single injector in. I don't think there's anything I physically can even do to put this injector in. Like, I've tried everything. The first good decent thing I did was to use the actual cover of the screws and pull it in with that. That seemed to actually work alright. So I tried all these other ways. I pulled it off to see if it was seated right. It wasn't. I tried to put it on again, and now this metal has just snapped. Clean in half, the metal has snapped. And that's how much force it's taken to push this injector in, and it's still not going in. And I've tried the other injector and stuff, so it's literally just like how hard it is to put a side feed injector with this O-ring on it. I've tried the other O-rings, it's just that tight of a fit. Like, I thought they were hard to pull out. Putting them in, I want everyone converts it to a front facing plenum, gets top feed injectors, because this is full messed up, eh? This is not right. Alright, so I don't even know what to do anymore. I've put it in how I had it the first time before I pulled it apart and broke one of the little caps. I don't know what to do. I was thinking about it. I was like, I can't imagine when they're building the car, like, I can't imagine them trying that hard to put the injectors in. Like, I'm sure they just kind of put the caps on and screw it in, and surely that's seated enough. I don't know. So I'm just gonna plug the fuel pump in. I'm gonna try and turn it over. I'm gonna see if it's leaking fuel. It's not leaking fuel. It's not leaking fuel. What's a couple millimeters out, sitting out from the seat? I don't know. The cap's tight. It can't go down any further. So what else can I really do? Apart from anything I'm going to do is just going to break the injector. So I'm just going to try this. Alright, well I primed the fuel pump. It wasn't leaking. I'm priming it again. Should I go check if it's leaking? Probably. She almost started. So maybe it doesn't have fuel pressure yet. We better go check if it's leaking now. I can smell fuel all of a sudden. I think it is leaking. I went and checked it. It doesn't seem to be leaking. Try again. Wow, the starter hasn't done that yet. Starter motor was working so good. So good after I pulled it apart and then re-greased it. It's working every single time until now. So that's the injector. The fuel pump's been primed heaps of times. You see it's a bit wet under there, but I've been spraying heaps of that silicone spray. And I can't smell any fuel up here. So the rail's pressurised now for sure. Just basically got to get it to turn over and fire. We should be in luck. Please work, Mrs. Skyline. I feel like this is a smart car, you know? It's like, it can just tell every time it's about to run better than ever, and then it's saying, no, not just yet. So another problem we had was the battery leads in the boot weren't working. So we've got another test here. So we've got the positive from the fuse box straight to the battery, but then we're going to test just the negative with the jumper lead. So if this works with just the negative, it means it's just the negative wire to fix. But if it doesn't work, well, then it means it's not the negative wire, it means it's the positive wire that needs replaced. Alright, so that's on. Now if we have power in the car, and it turns over the starter motor, well then it's this negative lead to be replaced. So we've got just that negative. Got power. It's turned over. So that means it's 100% that negative wire and nothing to do with the positive in the boot. So that's a problem completely diagnosed. We just got to replace that negative wire. Then we'll be able to run a battery in the boot. It will start. The starter seems to be going pretty good now as well because I pulled it apart. So it's playing up a second ago, but now it's not. It's got heaps of voltage. I'm going to try with a jumper pack on top of this. Spray a little bit of spray in the intake, and it should just go. Unless really the fuel still hasn't managed to get to the rail, and then that injector may be leaking. We still have to test, but the fuel would be there by now to prime the pump. It's got a jumper pack on in the engine bay, battery in the boot. Should have heaps of power now. Whoa. You see how the car's gonna take off, mate. Far out. I don't need that much power. So I've had this thought and now I'm a bit worried. But what if the side feed injector's sealing so the fuel's not coming outside, but it's not sealed at the tip to stop the rail from flowing into the intake, flooding the motor? Which means that the whole motor's flooded and then it won't start. But I've just sprayed brake clean into the intake, so if it fires slightly now, it means it's not a fuel starvation issue. But if it still doesn't fire now, then that means the whole motor's flooded. So we'll find out in a second. Please don't be flooded. Please just work. You heard that. So, good and bad. That means there's no fuel going into the motor yet. But then that means that has any fuel got to that injector that I thought's not leaking? Because maybe it is about to start leaking. I just don't know it yet. So I'm going to take off the return line. See if we can prime the fuel rail. So we've got our return line with a garden hose going into a plastic bottle. And then now we're going to check the fuel pressure. So yeah, we're going to check the fuel pressure into a plastic bottle. Okay, so I primed the fuel pump and it definitely worked. The fuel coming out, drizzling everywhere from the return line. So that means there's fuel blowing through the hoses. So this fuel I got, see it in the bottle there, I think it's a bit stale. It's a bit stale. That doesn't smell right. Yeah, I think it's being diluted by stale fuel, and now it's stale, so the car doesn't want to start. Holy fuck, it's not stale. Take 15, I guess it is. I don't know, I'm not counting. Alright, so let's try now. I've taken the fuel line off. At least the starter motor works better. So it's getting fuel through the rail 100%. And it's not starting because of the fuel, because it fired instantly with the brake cleaner. So the only thing this is leading me to believe is that the fuel is stale in the tank, even though we've topped it up multiple times. I think the stale fuel is making the new fuel stale, and because it's sat for a week or so, now that fuel is no good. So I'm try and drain the fuel tank. Because some of this stuff, mechanic in a bottle and a jiggle hose, siphon out the fuel. Alright, so I've popped the fuel pump. Now I've got the jiggle hose in the tank. So I've got my jiggle hose in. Basically, like most Skylines have this, but you've got like a fuel drain hole in your boot. So down here, if you just put your hose through that hole in your boot, you'll be able to drain your fuel pretty easy outside of the car and not make a mess. So stick that in the jerry can, do your fuel hole. Alright. So then now you gotta jiggle it. Try not to stuff your fuel pump wiring. So the snakes come out of the hole. Very filthy, dirty, disgusting. Alright, this is starting to be real annoying. I've got maybe 5-6 litres of fuel out with the jiggle hose. And I was like, oh, I'll just pump it out with the fuel pump because this isn't working. I'm worried I was going to make the fuel pump stop working. And guess what? The fuel pump doesn't work anymore from jiggling the hose around in the tank. This car just wants to be a pain, doesn't it? It doesn't want to work. Just something so simple, like we got it running, and then because we let it sit for a week or two, and then the new fuel, the stale fuel, now the new fuel's stale, like the stale fuel doesn't want to start. It's all I can really, that's what I've pinpointed to, so I'm gonna try and fix the fuel pump now to pump the fuel out, like I should have just done at the start. I found the problem. I have found the problem. So one of the wires has come off. Be interesting to see whose fault this is, if it's Cameron's or mine, but I think it's my fault because we both crimped different wires. So, and the way we crimped them, fuck, decided to do it one-handed. We did them slightly different. So it's come out. But I think it's the one I crimped. So honestly, the easiest way for me to do this, I'm just gonna pull the whole fuel pump back out. On the plus side, I can remove R33 fuel pumps in sub 3 seconds now with my hand in the tank. I was very quick. So the wire's disconnected. Alright, let's have a little gander. You can see how she's been holding up in the tank. So our pump's alright. It's a bit filthy. Not ideal. But over here, this lead came apart. Well, seeing as the fuel pump's out now, I'm gonna go crazy with that jiggle hose because that's what was slowing me down. I didn't want to bang the fuel pump with it, but I must have done it anyway. Wrecked the wiring. Alright, so I fixed the fuel pump. I just kind of tried to re-crimp it how it was. 3 primes at the pump, like you flick the switch on and off 3 times, you get about a litre out. So it's gonna take forever to do that, but it's a bit, I think it's almost quicker than using the jiggle hose. So I did 4 primes of the fuel pump this time, and 4 primes seems to be the perfect number to fill this bottle right up. So it's 2.5 litres, all in under a minute. Alright, so we've got at least 12-13 litres of fuel out of the Skyline. So I've gone and filled up a jerry can. I've got 10 litres of fresh fuel and this mechanic fuel stabilizer. So Skyline fuel tank's about 60-65 litres capacity. Tank's maybe was just under half full, taking out 10 litres. So there's maybe a third of the tank at most, a bit less. I think I kept doing the fuel pump until it started making a different sound. Almost sounds like the fuel pumps, like the tank's just run out of fuel pretty much. So put some of this stuff in, you let this stuff sit for 15 minutes. I'm going to pour it down the fuel hole to fill up the fuel tank. Then I'm going to drizzle some petrol down just to wash any remnants of this into the tank. Then I'm going to let it sit. Then after 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm going to tip in the 10 litres of fresh fuel after this had done its thing to the stale fuel, and then it should all combine together and we should magically have a running car. Now, for a bit of a reference, remember that dirty yellow fuel I had? This is fresh fuel. So the bottles I was having of bright yellow urine coloured fuel, that's how you know it's stale. This is fresh, straight from the survey. Whoa, that's heap better than the other stuff. The other stuff doesn't even give you a hit. That's another thing. If you sniff the stale stuff, it just makes you feel sick. If you sniff the fresh stuff, you see the purple elephants. So according to that mechanic in a bottle stuff, it just keeps improving. So if you think about how fuel sits there and it goes staler and staler and staler, they reckon by putting that stuff in the fuel, it just means it's getting purer and purer or fresher and fresher and fresher. And it says the longer you leave it, the fresher it gets. It also says you can't overdose the fuel with that stuff. So you could put like 20 bottles of it in. I don't know why you want to pay for 20 bottles unless you want to like knock them off from Bunnings, then just like tip them all in your fuel tank. You can almost replace fuel with that. You don't even need to buy fuel. You just go knock them off from Bunnings and just fill your whole fuel tank with them. Then you save like $100 on fuel. So hopefully the great fuel swap has been completed. I've taken about 11-12 litres of fuel out of the tank. I've then put in the fuel doctor stuff. It sat there and festered for maybe 40 minutes. Then I've put in 10 litres now of fresh fuel. So the fuel level wasn't really a problem of it ever running, but that same amount of fuel that was in there, basically at one point 2 weeks ago I put it in fresh. A lot of that fuel was fresh, so that's been taken out. It's gone stale in 2 weeks, been taken out and replaced with the same amount of fresh fuel that was once there. So if it ran before, there's no reason it shouldn't run now, especially then to factor in the fuel doctors being added. So the fuel shouldn't be an issue with the quality of fuel now. And if the car runs, well, it runs. If not, I might have to pull the injector back out. New fuel filter. Gonna put one of them on before we do anything. Have a few spare. Now that at least I know this guy isn't just gonna get clogged up straight away or disgusting fuel through it. I've been playing around with the Skyline for a few weeks now, so no harm putting this on. At least it'll stay fairly fresh. It's a lot clearer looking. I've seen the purple elephant. It's good to go. She's gonna start. So now if my theory is right, this Skyline will just now start and run phenomenally, really well. Better than it's ever has since I've owned it. You know what that means? Starter mode is not going to work because she's going to start running. So we'll see how she feels today. The fuel filter is primed. There will be now fuel flowing through the fuel rail. Now the fuel is definitely flowing through the fuel rail. What did I say? The starter motor wasn't gonna work. Funny, because it was working perfectly fine yesterday, every single time. I'll put a jumper pack on it. I'll see what that does. Jumper pack's on. See if the starter wants to play nice. Fuel pump didn't run just then. Now it's gone. Are you serious, man? I'm gonna go bang the starter solenoid, see if it will start working. Take 335. Alright, I banged the solenoid with a rod. At least we got that. Come on. She's running. Oh yeah, she's running. Oh mama. Alright, it's purring like a kitten, but there's leakage underneath the car. I'm really glad I got out of the car and went to go look at it. I could have been sitting in and it just blew up. We're all dry up here in the fuel pump. It's not leaking up here. There's definitely fuel down here on coming out of the tank. No. I think the tank's cracked. But it wasn't leaking before. That's the thing though. Hold on. No, it's not that, because that's the bracket that's hold. I thought the tank was cracked, but it's the bracket of the seams. It still could be cracked. We're not out of the water yet. Let's see what's happening. Why have we got all of a sudden a new fuel leak? Maybe when I moved the lines, one of the lines is now loose. Alright, so all the leaking fuel's dried up. I'm going to prime it again, see if it starts leaking. Alright, I think it's come back. Alright, the leak's come back. It's run down from the top somewhere. Yeah, wow. See in there?
Alright. Well, apparently that will hold my phone. So I'm going to go try and prime it. You guys tell me if it leaks.
Did anything happen? Where'd it come from? Do you guys see? I'm glad I film this stuff sometimes, because like, it's not just me saying this. Like, every time this car gets something fixed, it just makes a new problem. At least it runs like good now. I think the guy knows I'm trying to sell it. Like, as soon as I fix it, I'm gonna try and sell it. And she's like, "No, I don't want to I don't want to go back to those horrible people. I like it here." No, she doesn't get driven. She just gets fixed up. Doesn't even get worked. So I guess if you like what you're seeing, subscribe, maybe like the video. Either you know, that's good enough for me. You know, see, if you want to see more of this stuff, just press one of those buttons. We'll have a few more videos coming out soon.